Good morning, everyone. I know it's been a while, but I have actually been busy making trees. I have made these two, and I used it was a 6¼ to a 6½ inch hoop that I had gotten from Jerome Tanks, which is a craft store here in Mississippi. So we're going to start off with making Maryann's branches, and I had cut these to 16 inches long, and they are the 22 gauge Concrete aluminum wire, and I am using gemstone beads that were gifted to me, but I will find them on Amazon for you, and the Yope clear bicones, and those ones are a really good deal. I believe you get 3,000 of them for either $7.99 or $8.99 a bag, which, oh my gosh, yeah, that is such a good deal. So as I load these up, the first leaf on Maryann's branch, I am putting 7 beads on it, and it will be 4 of the gemstone beads and then 3 of the bicones, and it's alternating of them. And that's just to add a little bit of sparkle. And I am actually picking through, I'm looking for the smallest beads in here and not really caring about the color. I want this to be a lot of different colors, so. There's no rhyme or reason to what I'm picking. I'm just picking up the small ones. And I am so sorry I'm getting a little off camera here. But I'm putting in about 5 twists after that initial set of beads. And then it doesn't matter which wire you pick. So I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to do 5 different leaf sets on, or leaves. Oh my goodness, it's early. 5 different leaves on each of these branches. And I'll alternate between the bicones and the gemstones. And I had kind of learned this technique. I went back and watched a bunch of Maryann's videos where she had used the gemstones. And she definitely mixes them, which just adds such a nice sparkle to them. And I was like, that is what I was doing wrong. I was just like junking up my leaves with just the gemstones, and they just weren't very pretty. I mean, the gemstones are pretty, but as for sun catchers, it's like, you know, some of these stones, they're not translucent, so it wasn't really working like I had wanted it to, or even actually thought it out, and she did. So it's like, this is why she's got such a great channel. She thinks about these things. So for the next leaf, you're just going to make sure that you're picking the longest wire. Look at that, a blown out bead. And that happens sometimes. I did go and try to find a video on how they make these beads, the gemstone ones, and how they drill the holes in them. But it makes sense that, you know, when they're putting their drill bits through, you know, hundreds or thousands of beads at a time, that they're not all going to be centered. I couldn't find anything, but, you know, working in manufacturing, I kind of get how you wouldn't have somebody sitting there doing 1 bead at a time. Oh my goodness, can you even imagine? That would be horrible. So I always cross backwards, and I don't know if you've noticed that. But then once you cross backwards and you use your thumb as that kind of guide to your spacing, it really does add a lot of depth to your leaves. And Maryann does have quite a few tutorials on how to make this particular leaf. And she doesn't call it Maryann's leaves or Maryann's branches. That's just me. But you have to give credit where credit is due. It's a beautiful technique, and I feel like it gives me a lot of control over my tree. I am not good at adding the leaves to the branches of the actual tree, and I have tried it so many times, and it's like they just come out ugly. So I figured it's not my thing, but these branches that are independent, they're definitely my thing, because I can make, I have them right there in my hand. They're not tied to something else. And I have complete control over what I'm doing. And if I don't like something or the way I did it, off to the next one. And I did make 20 of these branches. And I did put 20 wires on my hoop. So I ended up with 40, because you double those. 40 wires on the hoop, but when I put on my branches, I typically will double up those wires. So instead of twisting 2 wires, I'm twisting 4 wires. So that makes it, gives a lot of integrity to each of the branches as they're coming along. And it adds thickness, which I really like. And in the gemstone trees, I feel like I didn't need to double up on the branches, because I was doing, I was doing 40 branches with the bicones, the glass bicones. And then, I just didn't need to do as many with the gemstones, just because there's so much to look at with the different colors. And now we're just going to speed this up for you. I wish I could work that fast. I'd be putting out so many trees. This is the noise, my goodness. Almost knocked over my coffee. And I don't know if anyone has seen Maryann's tutorial on the grapevine wreath she's working on right now with the birds. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to see that done. That woman has so much talent. We're also going to be working on the playlist and making things a little bit easier to find. And I know she's got some great videos out there. I think I put too many beads in my plate. On my plate. So, yeah, when I'm searching through trying to find those little bitty beads, it's have too many beads to look at. Your eyes get a little distracted. I should have probably put about half as many as I did. But a new use for paper plates, my goodness. So with these two trees, I am making them for these two sweet little boys at church. So the youngest, he's 7, and he is a rock hounder like I am. And then the older boy, he is a little hunter, fisherman, and so outdoorsy. And him and my husband get along so well. It's so cute. After church last night, they were sitting there just talking, and just there's all these other men around, and then there's these two, and I kept looking over at him, just thinking, you know what? This is the most precious thing ever. And they were having such an adult conversation about hunting and fishing. It's just. Oh my gosh, it just warmed my heart. Little kids love my husband. I don't know, maybe he just looks like a big kid, I don't know, but they love him. But the youngest, the 7-year-old, he is really into nature and rock hounding and fossils, and oh my gosh, for 7 years old, and I gotta tell you, in the South, these kids and their manners. No ma'am, yes ma'am. No sir, yes sir. Thank you. So gracious. They're all so gracious. And that's how I was raised, even though I wasn't raised in the South. But it's really nice to see such great manners in kids. It is wonderful. So I did give these trees to him last night, and they had to show them to everybody that showed up to the Bible study, and oh my gosh. It was like I had given them diamonds or something. They were so happy, and that makes me happy. Especially being away from my own grandchildren, to be able to be around children. They are little joys. My goodness. And I have to apologize for my keep getting into the frame. Later today, I'm going to go into town and go to Hobby Lobby and see what's new with maybe some of the stuff that they have for fall. Different shapes, and I know Maryann doesn't have a Hobby Lobby next to her or anywhere close, so it's just easiest for me to go and to find us fun things. And if I keep us in fun things even for years, who cares? But that if you're ever in Mississippi and you get to Philadelphia, Mississippi, and you get to go to Jerome Tank's, yeah, that is a pretty wonderful store too. And no, none of them sponsor us, none of them. But I just have to tell you where the good spots that I find are. I think in September we're going to be heading up to Ohio to visit my husband's dad. I'm sure there's places up there too that specialize in crafts, and hopefully some that specialize in beading. You know, we'll be going through like Cincinnati and ending up in Toledo. And Toledo kind of has a special spot in my heart just because of Klinger from MASH. I still love MASH. MASH is, oh my goodness, such a wonderful show. Yeah, it takes a lot longer to do these Maryann branches. Picking through, like I'm doing on this, getting the small beads. But I think that even though it takes longer, it's probably the second most satisfying of building the tree, because you get to see what each individual branch is going to look like and kind of place them in your mind where they're going to be around the tree. Okay, so for the hoop, what I do to get my wire length is I measure my hoop, and this one I think this one's just over 6 1/4, but I went ahead and rounded up and called it 6 1/2. And then you times that by 3.5, and that's 22.75. So then I just round up to 23 inches to cut, and this is for the roots and the trunk and then the tree branches. And then I put mine on with a slip knot. I am going to do, I did miscount, I am going to do 19. I had 19. I had 19 of the Maryann branches, so I need to make one more. And actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually slow this down so that you can see a little bit better. So you're putting on your initial beads and alternating them like I did in the beginning. And I'm always slightly distracted with something, so I always have to go back and double check where I'm at. And sometimes it's really hard to find the holes on the gemstone beads. And sometimes they're blown out, like I was saying before. It's, blown out before you even try to string them. But here we go. I'm slowing this down. So I grab the beads with one hand, and then I'm going to bring my finger, my middle finger, through the 2 wires, and I'm going to twist. And I'm not going to twist them too tight, but I'm going to make those beads all sit together. And then I think it's about 5 twists that I end up doing on these. It's so funny watching this in slow motion. It's like, oh, I'm used to putting everything in fast motion. And then once again, alternate your beads for one of the wires. And after that initial set, it doesn't really matter which wire you pick. Once you got your beads on, you're going to make sure you have a thumb space between the bead and the wire, the second wire. And then you're going to go ahead and twist that up. And that leaves you with a really good space to twist. And now what you're going to do is you're going to flip those wires, and you're going to use the longest wire and alternate your beads. And I really do suggest, if you're making a sun catcher stone beads, to use those alternating with the bicones, and then that way the crystal bicones, and that way you get some sun catcher qualities to it. I mean, there are some quartz and some agates that are clear. Oh, some amethyst, but you know, a lot of these beads are just absolutely, you can't see any light through them. So once again, you just make sure there's a thumb width, and then you twist up. And I'm putting about 5 or 6 twists in afterwards. And then I'll start my next set. Like I said, there's 5 sets of leaves on the Maryann branches. You see how I put my thumb down there, and then I keep my thumb down there. And then I just twist up until it's nice and snug. And then the longest wire, you flip it. It's hard to see. I tried. Searching for the little bitty guys. So I've been into the People's Court lately. Oh my gosh, remember that? And just watching that, or listening to it actually while I'm beading. That's a lot of fun. Some of the things that people sue each other over. Oh my goodness. So what I do here is I put in a few twists, about 5, I think. And then when I go to put on my branches, I'll actually add more twists to them. And that gives me a little bit more freedom when I have put them on the tree branch to move them around and to shape them. So they're not real, the beads aren't real tight against the tree branch. And that's just something I've learned because I hadn't been doing that at first, and I had so little room to move them to kind of fill in blank spots. So just by making that wire just a little bit longer, it gave me a lot more freedom. Or those twists a little bit longer, actually. Gave me a lot more freedom to move them into the blank spots. So here I am starting the tree, and I use the slip knot, and I learned that from Maryann. And for me, that's a pretty easy way to put on the wires. So as we put this on, it's just, I have 20 wires. They are all 20 gauge. I have Bencrete 20 gauge aluminum, and then the Bencrete 20 gauge gold, which is just anodized aluminum. I'm going to speed this up for you because this is kind of the boring part. Might wear out your wrist. I know it does mine. I only have a few more birthdays left, and I think I only have one more project to finish for birthdays, which is another spider web. And then I'm going to start on the Christmas stuff. And I'm going to be doing, I am going to be doing some of the weeping willow trees. I'm going to try to do what Maryann has done in the past. So hopefully you'll join me for that. So in here, I initially took 5 and I separated it out. Now I have 20 wires on here. And 20 wires is not equally divisible by 3. So I want 3 different sections for my roots. So on each side, I ended up with 6. And in the center, there is 8 wires. So I kind of figured that the 8 wires in the center would kind of keep everything balanced. So 6 on each side and 8 in the center. And what I do is I just kind of hold them together, get them positioned, and then I hold where I had twisted. So that part doesn't become part of the twist for the tree. And I am so sorry, I'm a little bit off camera here. There we go. Sometimes it takes me a second to realize it. It's like, oops. And the one thing on this particular tree that I didn't really care for was how leggy my roots ended up being. And I'm pretty good about critiquing my own trees. So I think my twists were just a little bit too long. I probably put in 15, which is typically what I do for an 8-inch hoop. But I think that was a little too much for the 6 1/4, 6.5 inch hoop that I'm using here. The second tree I did, I think I did a little bit better on it. So then I just go through and I'm straightening out my wires and kind of pulling them together and making sure that as I pull them together that initial twist lands about at the same spot. And I'm lining up with each side, and then again I'm going to hold it. Now pull those initial twists into one big twist. And then I like to twist up just over half of the way up the hoop. So we'll go a little more than 3 inches. And so I think I just need one more twist. And since I'm using gold and silver, I need to start dividing these branches up into sections of 8. Because there's 20 wires on it, but they're folded in half, so I actually have 40. And so I'm going to get 5 sections of 8. So in each section of 8, I need 4 silver and 4 gold. And sometimes when you're twisting, they kind of lose their order. So trying to put everything back in order can sometimes be a challenge. You might have a wire that's coming from an odd direction, but as long as you're not bending it too much, you should be fine. See here that just trying to find an extra silver wire. And it's not hard, it's just kind of time consuming. And forgive my hair again. My goodness, it looks messy, but it's actually up in a bun, okay? It's a messy bun. Don't judge. That's not nice. Sorry about that. It's cracking me up. Wanted to make sure you could see, but Yeah, I needed to see too, and I wasn't wearing my glasses. This will be a great reminder to wear my glasses. It looked good from the front, okay? Oh, shoot. You can see I'm struggling here under my wires. Now what I'm going to be doing is separating them into 2 golds and 2 silvers. And then I'll twist them out. Sorry that took so long. I didn't want to speed up this part just because I feel like the shape of your tree is the most important part. And if you look at Maryann's trees, yeah, she's been doing it so long. It's just, all of this is so natural for her. But she is right. It doesn't matter what you do. Every tree is going to be a little bit different. It is so hard to keep one shape going. And maybe it's the heat of your hands. I don't know. But I cannot make 2 identical trees to save my life. I mean, I can make them similar, but definitely not identical. So there we have our 5 initial branches. And then we're going to split those off, and we will twist 4 and 4. I'm sorry, 2 and 2. So gold and silver and gold and silver. And we'll do that all the way around. Try to keep the wires coming off the initial branch as naturally as we can. There we go with my hair again. I did do a video for the second tree. Oh my goodness, what a mess. Okay, so my head was completely under the camera. I kept forgetting to turn the camera off, so it ended up being something like a 3-hour video. And I looked at it this morning and I was like, oh, that is so bad. There's no way that this video will show anybody anything worth their time watching. So, oh my goodness. So even though I recorded the video to share with everybody, the beading was actually just therapy. Just some downtime from all the craziness. We finally cooled down here in the south. So we were in the 80s, and there was just so much catch-up work to do outside, and then, of course, our regular jobs, and I did not feel like we had any time to do much of anything. And yeah, it was a busy week. Busy last 2 weeks. It's funny how fast things grow, how fast weeds come up, how fast the lawn grows. Because even though it was hot, we weren't missing any moisture, that's for darn sure. The rains would come through and just pour. And if you live in the South, or if you've ever been to the South, you know when it pours, it's like turning on a shower. The rains just come down. Which I am not griping about. I love the rainstorms down here. I love thunder and lightning. And it is so beautiful. All right, so here we are putting on the branches. And like I said, I will end up adding a few more twists to these. The Maryann branches, I'll add a few more twists to them. And then I go through and I trim off those little tails. And that particular branch ended up being kind of an issue for me because my initial Maryann branch didn't get twisted in tight enough. So it was very, very loose. So when I go back through and I glue it at the end of the video, I'll show you how I glue. And actually I had issues with that too. But I glue that branch down. So this part of putting together the tree is my favorite part. Trim off those baby wires from the Maryann branches. And then straighten out those wires and then wrap them around as nice and neat. So Maryann does hers with a second wrap, and then she wraps over the initial, where you initially attach the tree. And hers seem to stay fine. Mine do not. So I am big on using the super glues, and I use Aleene's metal and jewelry glue. And I really like the fact that it dries clear. And I do let it dry for 24 hours before I mess with the tree too much more or put in any of the bends in the branches or anything like that. And you know, Maryann taught me everything I know. So, you know, I have tried it her way, and some things, you know, different strokes for different folks. She just has her way of doing things, and it really works out well for her. And her trees always come out so beautiful. Even when she doesn't think so. It's just like, oh, what an artist. It was a lot of fun using these gemstones like this. You know, and it did make the tree a lot heavier. And I don't know if I mentioned, when I'm twisting with a gold and silver on each side. So there are 4 wires that I am twisting with. And I'm really bad about shaping the tree before I finish the tree. And so the downside to that is when you're going to put in your next branch, because you're shaping it, there's, it kind of binds you up in room. The good side to doing that is that you can see where your next branch actually needs to land. And you can see here, very quickly, because I sped it all up, I am actually adding extra twist to the Maryann branches, the beaded branches. And I do one side, and then I flip over and I do the other side. And that just helps me keep my tree in balance and make sure that everything stays kind of centered. And that's just part of my personality. It's organization. And then, no matter how hard I try, it's never going to be perfect, but no tree is perfect. Well, I guess they are perfect. They're perfectly imperfect. So, I don't know, I'm so excited to go to Hobby Lobby today. Might make a short video and show you guys all the cool stuff that I find. I always find cool stuff there. My new workstation. All stuff that I bought from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so before I bend the branches too much, I go in with the Aleene's. Now, I had actually glued the top to the top. So, I was trying to get it off, and I ended up having to take off the whole dispenser part of it. So I have to go back through with a paintbrush. Lucky I have these cheap dollar store paintbrushes. I'm just rubbing in the glue. And then I'll let that dry for 24 hours. And then this is what I ended up with. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll be seeing you soon. Have a great day and a great weekend.